Right, welcome to today's session. So from today, we'll be dealing with the learning unit 3. So we'll be dealing with the learning unit 3. Right, you should note that for this topic, the first thing that you have to, we have to understand that it actually integrates some of the things that we have done so far. Actually, we have discussed the things that we'll be doing in this topic, but then we'll look at how we apply them. Actually, we talked about part of this topic in study unit 1, then we also discussed part of it again in study unit 2. So it is not an entirely new subject, right? If you still remember, when we're looking at in the previous topics, when we're looking at the modern day accountant, we learned that the modern day accountant does not have to just be preparing the financial statements. Traditionally, an accountant used to just prepare financial statements, but now the today's accountant is required to add value to the organization. It is a requirement that the accountant does not just present and prepare financial statements, but rather he is an integral part of the organization. I think you know that these days there are accounting packages whereby most of the accounting duties that could be done by the olden day accountant, some of them have been replaced by accounting systems which can easily prepare the financial statements. Right. So the role of an accountant has been under continuous scrutiny. If you are just there to just prepare the financial statements, you will no longer be part of the top levels of the organization. An accountant is now required to participate in decision making. An accountant is now required to analyze the broader context of the organization. For example, you should be able to understand risk as an accountant. You should be able to predict the future as an accountant. You should be able to like explain the performance of the company from an overall view, a holistic view, rather than to just look at the financial side of things. I think we also talked about the 6 capitals, whereby the organization is no longer, the performance of the organization is no longer be viewed as through the financials only. There are other perspectives that we now have to also look at. So that's where this issue of problem solving and critical thinking comes into play, right? You should remember that your main task, before I move forward, your main task, the first task, you are supposed to attend a webinar. I think around the 18th of June or something like that. Sometime next week, please attend the webinar. Right, that webinar, if you are not able to attend, you should make sure that you follow the recording. But usually some of these things for these modules, they also check your attendances. So it is advisable that they usually give different slots. So it is advisable that you check the slots and be able to attend the webinar. And I think the first task, if I'm not mistaken, will also be based on what is presented in that webinar. So please make sure that you attend. So our first task for this module, it's related to the webinar that you are supposed to attend. So please go on my UNISA, check your dates for the webinar and attend to it. Then our task that we will do together will be the next one after the webinar. So you would find that most probably will be ahead of schedule. That's why you see that there will be some times whereby I will be maybe giving you time to work on your own. Like would be together this week, we'll be together next week, then another week I might say relax, so that you can be able to have time to analyze the information that we have. right? So please make sure that you attend the webinar that will be facilitated by the lecturer. I think in a week or so's time. Please make sure that you attend that. Right. So I was talking about the modern day accountant being a critical thinker and a problem solver, and to participate in the broader context whereby even if there's an issue to do with production, you as the accountant, you should be able to bring out a perspective that comes from the many areas of your field to contribute to solving the problems of the organization. So we're saying the modern day accountant is no longer just required to prepare financial statements, but to add value to the organization through participation in problem solving, and developing the business. So you'd find that in the old meetings, the accountant could just be asked to present information on on maybe there's a problem that they want to solve. They want to see whether they should produce a product A or product B. The accountant could just come and break down the cost of production, and then break down the cost of buying the product from the business, and then present them to management. Then management will then have to make a decision on whether to make the product or buy the product. But these days now, it's not about just giving the figures. You as the management accountant as an accountant should go and look at the broader aspects, looking at what are the advantages if we have to produce the entity. We could be able to control the quality of the product, and we can also, maybe to our convenience, make sure that the lead time is what we want and all those things. So you will no longer just click, maybe talk about the monetary side of things. You will be talking about the broader aspects related to making or buying that product, instead of just looking at the financial things or a side of it, and participate in the decision making. Right. Now we want to look at critical thinking. Critical thinking is a subject that has been analyzed by various scholars as they try to emphasize the importance of critical thinking. But the framework that we need to understand was the one that was created by Bloom in an attempt to explain what critical thinking is. Right. Then we also have this is the ability to analyze and evaluate information. And draw conclusions about problems. This is one of the definitions by so a critical thinker should be able to look at the problem, break it down, understand the problem. After understanding the problem, you analyze it and you check what are the possible solutions to solve the problem, and then at the end of the day, draw a conclusion to see what can be done for that problem to be solved. Right. Then, according to Bloom, there are 6 levels of thinking. Right. He has a pyramid that he uses to explain the how a person can think. And there was the old pyramid and the new pyramid. Right. It can be divided into six levels. Right. Let me just look at the right. The old pyramid is got 6. That is the lower level. Right. The lower level of thinking, there is knowledge, comprehension, and application. Then the higher level, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Then the new pyramid now. So this was the original pyramid that was created, but the new pyramid now breaks down the lower level skills as being to remember, understand, apply. Whereas the higher level skills will involve, analyze, evaluate, and create. So as you think about a problem, you move from the lower levels, that is, you remember. Then after remembering, you have to understand. With remembrance and understanding, then you can apply whatever you remember and understand. Then on the higher level, you then analyze whatever that information is, then evaluate it, and then create. That means you now be creating a solution. So according to Bloom, you can move up and down the pyramid. You can move up and down the pyramid from 1 up to 6, or you can, but as you try to solve the problem, you don't necessarily have to be maybe move from one level to another, but you can also be able to go back as you try to solve the problem. Maybe you are already trying to evaluate, you can go back to understanding the solution so that you can be able to understand the problem. So you would find that normally with critical thinking, you need the higher level skills. Those are the most necessary skills when it comes to the modern day accountant or the modern day student of business. You are now, you should just use your remembrance. You need the remembrance, you need the understanding, you need the application. But after that, you should also be an analytical thinker and should be able to evaluate information and create solutions for the organization. All right. So now I want to explain what these levels mean. So we'll mainly concentrate on the new ways of defining these skills that are required, new levels to explain these skills. Right. So let's look at Bloom taxonomy. It's called Bloom's taxonomy. So want to look at the levels of thinking that can be that you can pass through as a student. Right. To explain this, I would like to look at an example. Right. Let's say Eugenius Limited yes inventory at year end. And the inventory values are as follows. Cost price, 800,000. Then net realizable value, 78,000. So they have to give a value to this inventory and disclose it in the notes to the financial statements of the company. Now there are 6 levels that you have to pass through for you to be able to explain this. Number 1, you have to remember. When you are remembering, you now remember the theory that we have. That is to recall facts and ideas. So you have to, as a student, you have to remember that inventory is measured and disclosed according to what? According to IS2. And inventory is recorded at the lower of cost and realizable value. Right. Then you can even go further. Let's say the cost price is broken down. You can even go further in understanding the things that are the items that are supposed to be included in cost and the items that are not supposed to be included in cost. You can also know how to determine what is the formula that you have to use to determine the net realizable value. You also have to know the methods that you have to use to value your inventory. You have to know that I can be able to use first in, first out. I can be able to use a weighted average method. The standards do not allow me to use a last in, first out. Or that you are just remembering what is provided by IS2. Right. Then number 2, we have to understand that is comprehend information. and grasp the meaning. Right. Now you now understand that, okay, is a when I'm valuing inventory, for example, when valuing inventory, assets, they have to be valued at cost. That's why IS2 now is valuing the inventory at cost. But if the net realizable value to be earned from realizing the assets, becomes lower than the cost, it is an indicator of a decrease in the economic benefits to be derived from the assets. Hence, it can be necessary to write down the inventory. So you're understanding the concept now. Net realizable value. So if I've got inventory in my books, which I bought for 100, but now I can only sell it at 80. Does it make sense for me to continuously record that inventory at 100? It doesn't make sense, because it means that this the economic benefits that I can derive from the asset. Remember that assets are measured in terms of the, like we define them as having the ability to give me the economic benefits. Now the economic benefits that I can now get from that inventory are now lesser than the cost that I expended. So it doesn't make sense for me to continue recording them at cost. So I should write them down. You are now understanding them. Right. Then number 3, you then apply. You know the theory. You understand it. Now you have to apply it to the financial statements that you are given, the financial statements of Eugenius Limited. Now we are using the information theories, concepts, and skills to solve problems. I now know that my IS2 says that I should record this inventory at the lower of cost and net realizable value. Then I will now know that in the context of Eugenius Limited, I'm now applying my theory. So I can say, number 1, my cost price is 800,000. My net realizable value is 780,000. Then from my number 1 and number 2, I know that I should record and disclose my inventory at the lower. So that means the inventory should be disclosed at the lower net realizable value. So then you now know that, okay, I should record at the lower of what? Cost and realizable value. All right. Then number 4. Analyze. That is make connections. Recognize patterns. And deeper meanings. Right. Now you can say, okay, what is the method that has been used to allocate the cost price when determining that 800,000? For example, manufacturing overheads, how have they been allocated to the various products? You know, okay, so you can say you can analyze the methods of allocating overheads. To the product. For example, basis of allocation. Maybe they are using machine hours to allocate the overheads. Then you see, is it the best way in which the overheads can be allocated? So maybe you can analyze the productive structure of the entity. And determine the most suitable cost drivers. In determining overhead absorption rates. Determine the suitability of inventory valuation methods. Remember, to determine costs, they have to determine whether to use FIFO or weighted average method. It's not just simple. So to get that 80,000, 800,000, that cost price, did they use FIFO? And if they use the FIFO, in the context of the business, you look at the prices of the products. If they've been stable, near stable enough that we can use weighted average method, or they fluctuated a lot, that weighted average method now gives skewed results. So it's rather better for us to use FIFO. What is the justifiable method that can be used to value our inventory? So you are now questioning now as an accountant. So you're no longer just taking that, okay, we should, you are not just going in an organization and say the inventory is valued at the law of cost and net realizable value, and this organization determines cost in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ways. You have to go and probe that way of determining the cost, whether it still remains appropriate or not. So you will have to analyze the whole process instead of just saying I should use the lower of cost and net realizable value, and the cost is determined in this way. You are now going a step further through the analysis. Right. Then after analyzing, you then evaluate. Make and justify judgment. All right. Then you evaluate the appropriateness of the inventory valuation method. Using what? The analysis done. You have analyzed the through number 4. You did analyze the circumstances of the organization, and from your analysis, you have seen that okay, the costs are being absorbed. Mainly the production system is machine related, so it is highly reasonable to use machine hours to allocate overheads. So my absorption rate, it's the machine hour absorption rate is the most appropriate. And looking at the way in which inflation has been hitting and the fluctuations in the prices, the most reasonable way to value our inventory should be to use FIFO under the circumstances. So there might be a need to apply IS 8 in changing the inventory valuation method from the first in, first out method to the weighted average method. So you are now evaluating and making conclusions from the analysis that you have done, so that you can see what is the best appropriate way to move forward. Right. Then number 6, you then create a combine elements of learning to create new or original work. Right. Then a recreate accounting policy regarding the evaluation of inventory and its disclosure based on the evaluation of the current circumstances of the company. Things have evolved. Maybe the way that they were, the method, the weighted average method was appropriate then, but from your evaluation, you have seen that circumstances have changed. It's no longer necessary to use the weighted average method. Then let's shift to the first in, first out from your evaluation there. Then determine most appropriate ways of calculating the cost, including methods of allocating overhead. So you now say no, from now on, the overhead absorption rate will no longer be calculated based on the traditional method. We are now going to use ABC, because it seems as if the traditional method is giving us an arbitrary outcome. So I've carried out the cost benefit analysis, and I've seen that the more accurate results that we shall obtain from ABC will far outweigh the cost of implementing ABC. So it is very important that our overheads, when determining the cost of inventory, should now be allocated using activity-based costing. So we are now creating a solution which will even impact the cost of the products. And if you are using a cost plus pricing, it can even impact, it can now allow even some of the products to reduce prices. Because like maybe because of the arbitrary allocation that we're allocating overheads, the cost of the various products were overvalued. So now if we change, maybe you might find that whereby the cost per unit was 200, it goes down to 160. Then we can be able to drop, maybe our market is too competitive, we can even now afford to drop some of the prices in order so that we can be able to charge competitive prices on the market. So that's a higher level now. So on the lower level, you just apply things as they are. You just go at the organization that you are working. You know that your IS2 says your inventory should be valued in this way. Then you just ask, how do you determine the cost? They tell you, then you just apply what they told you is the policy of determining cost of the company. After applying, you just say, okay, you just check, okay, what is the net less, what is the cost? Okay, so I should use this one. Then you are done. You are on the lower level there. But then on the higher level, you now look at the broader context in trying to find ways of ensuring that the reporting of the entity is more useful and you are able to give a fairer presentation to the users of the financial statements. So it's not just like you are applying what is there. Any questions there?
No questions at this stage.
Okay. So that's a critical thinking, right? Then I will also introduce for today the subject of integrated thinking. I'll just introduce it, but we'll look at it next week. So next week we'll meet again. As I told you, I'll be giving you breaks here and there so that you can be able to find ways to ponder on everything. But next week we're going to meet. Right. We looked at integrated thinking in the first and in the second topic. Right. Integrated thinking, as an accountant, you no longer have to be narrow-minded, whereby you just look at the narrow picture. Maybe, as I said, that you just look at the figures only. You have to now look at the figures and how they impact the business. You now have to think about the environment as an accountant, the effect of the practices of the organization on the environment. That's why you now have to integrate in your integrated report. I think you were dealing with the integrated report in your previous topic when you were doing your group assignments. You would see that in the integrated report, they talk about the environment, how the organization is creating, adding value and maintaining value or eroding value for the various stakeholders. So we have to think holistically. We can no longer look at issues in isolation and accounting in isolation from other parts of the business, and think that we have got a specific dimension as accountants, which we are supposed to address, which is different from what HR looks at, what production looks at. We should now know that as accountants, we are one with the other, with HR, we are one with marketing, we are one with production. All of us aimed at making sure that the stakeholders are served and we create value for the organization. So as we think about the way that we do our things, let's also think about all the other parts of the organization. How can we move forward this organization? Right. So integrated thinking is required at different levels. I think you face integrated thinking in your, right now, most of the time you'll be facing it in your exams and in your tests. But then you also face it when you now apply your accounting, maybe in your jobs and stuff like that. Right. Level 1, principles of a topic may be integrated. Right. So you might be facing a lot of concepts that are related to a specific topic in one. For example, when dealing with an auditing question, you might need to address existence together with accuracy. We are testing whether a motor vehicle exists. Then you say, let me go and see that vehicle. Whilst you are going to see that the vehicle exists, we are also checking the state of the vehicle so that you can be able to see if it's not impaired. Because you might find that its value, you see the vehicle, this is the vehicle, and this is the registration number. Once you are checking, you see the state of the vehicle, you see that no, this vehicle is very much damaged. It cannot be 1 million as reported in the books. So they should test for impairment. So at the same time, once you are testing the existence, you are also testing the accuracy. So all of them have to do with the PPE. Your auditing of the PPE is just one topic, but you now have to integrate existence and accuracy of the motor vehicle. So that's integrating various aspects of the topic. All right. Then level 2. Topics within a module. Can be integrated. I think you have seen that when you were doing maybe some of your exams, some of your tests before, you could find that maybe in a scenario, it can talk about preliminary audit engagement activities together with the risks at the financial statement level. Once you are doing your preliminary audit engagement activities, then you discover that there was a change in the accounting system. Already you know that that can affect the risks of material misstatement at the financial statement level, because the use of the new system might mean that employees might not be used to the new system, and they can be so the work can be susceptible to errors. So you might find that your questions can integrate the topics that are from different topics. All right. Level 3. Topics within a discipline. May be integrated. Right, you might find that within the same topic, there might be things that you did in first year, or there might be things that you did in second year and they are not necessarily included in the syllabus for third year, but it's the same topic. Then you find that they are now integrated and you are now being asked to apply them in the third year. You look at process costing. Some of the things that you did maybe 10 years ago when you were doing your bachelor's, they are not necessarily there in the syllabus for the one that you are doing currently, but they can be integrated when you are being asked. Right. Then level 4. Topics from more than one discipline may be integrated. These days, it's no longer shocking that you are busy writing FAC. Then you see that they then ask you a question on text, or you face a question on auditing along the way. So it's very possible that various aspects, various or different areas can be integrated within your Excel. You see that you are busy doing IS 40, then issues of ethics just crop up. You are busy writing MAC, then they are now asking you, should you accept the client considering maybe information on the scenario? Maybe there were issues that they were doing illegally in terms of maybe employment laws, in terms of hiding some records and stuff like that, lying and stuff like that. And there's a question on the integrity, then suddenly you're asked in the management accounting that as an auditor, should you accept a new audit engagement with the company? So there can be integration in that way. So you would find that the modern accountant has to integrate some of these things. And here we're just talking about integration in the areas that you are learning, but in the practical sense, there can be integration with marketing, integration with HR. You being able to relate your labor variances to the employment policies of the company. That we see that our labor efficiency variance is very, very poor. What might be the reason? The reason maybe our employees are not doing their jobs very well. Where is the source of the problem? Can we go back and look at how we are recruiting our employees? Are we recruiting properly from the first place? So you can even look at the production methods that are being used in the production process. Are they in line with the standards that we created as an accountant? Then you see that, okay, you can even trigger the question of our assets. Isn't it a question of our assets are aged or our production methods are outdated? Don't we need to improve our production methods so that we can improve our efficiency, variances? So all that. So there should be an integration rather than to just look about accounting in isolation or thinking about whatever you are looking at in isolation. If you want to solve a problem and you just think about the particular aspects that you're thinking about, you run a risk of solving it. And then within a day, you have another problem. Then it's from another angle. You solve that, another day you have another problem. That's why if your car is having a problem, it can be rather better to, if it's continuously having a problem, it's rather better to have a whole service, including checking the things that you think are working well, so that they can be able to see what are the deeper problems within the vehicle. Otherwise, you'll be at the mechanic every day. Right. Any questions then? Okay, so we'll continue next week, whereby we'll look at the competencies and also maybe try to look at one or two problems, and as we try to show how we think holistically. Thank you very much, and God bless you, Rachel.
Thank you, Eugene. Good evening.
Thank you.